Welcome, everyone, to the Insurance Perspectives podcast. This is a special episode discussing HawkSoft's core value, the attitude for gratitude. On today's show, we have three people that essentially need no introduction relative to HawkSoft, but I'm going to try. Jason Hansen is HawkSoft's Chief Operations Officer and co-founder of the company. Sean Hawkins is HawkSoft's Chief Product Officer and co-founder of the company. And Paul Hawkins is HawkSoft's Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of the company. These three individuals started HawkSoft together in 1995. 29 years later, they made the mistake of letting me interview them. I want to begin with some words of gratitude. I am sincerely grateful for the leadership you three bring to HawkSoft, and particularly how grounded we are as a company in our core values. HawkSoft is well known in our industry for having very prominent and public core values. Jason, I want to start with you, and I have this question. When did HawkSoft adopt this concept of core values and formalize that within the company?
Hi, Kenny.
Hey.
I think it was around 2010 where we started realizing the company was growing and it was getting much bigger than the three of us, and we were starting to realize everybody needs to know how we make decisions and why, so that they can continue to make decisions down the same course that we've always done. It was really to make sure the company could continue to grow the way we started it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that shows very like sound long-term planning in trying to capture. Because in 2010, HawkSoft would have been, well, don't make me do math, 15 years old, halfway through the journey so far. And so as you were seeing that growth, you saw a need to really codify what made the first 15 years special, it sounds like.
Well, and it was, I think it was a lot of that we were seeing that we were bringing on more and more employees, and that Paul, Jason, and I did not have as we got larger, we didn't have a direct impact on those. They had other managers or other individuals that were interacting more with those employees than we were. And we just started realizing that in order to be able to grow this and keep that culture, that small company culture, and the culture we had cultivated that thus far, we had to put those into words. We had to actually solidify them and make them part of something that was concrete, that people could read, people could see, we could actually talk to and refer to. And so it was a really neat way it came about, even of how we came about those core values. And if I remember correctly, and Paul and Jason jump in, we actually were just sitting there. We actually just started going, let's brainstorm of what are our core values. And then we divvied them up into different groups of employees that have been in the company a long time, and asked them to put together kind of their thoughts on those different topics. That's really where the core values came out of, with those groups. And there was probably, 15 people, 20 of us that worked on those, on different aspects of those.
I'm so tempted to do the pop quiz. Can we name all the core values?
Yes, do it.
And I'm terrified that you're going to flip it on me and say, can you name all of them? Let's do it. Why not? So I want us to skip the one we're here to talk about. So we're here to talk about attitude of gratitude. So we'll dive into that. So we'll go around robin. So one of my favorite ones is work to live, don't live to work.
Sense of community.
Do the right thing.
For the good of all.
For the good of all.
Deliver an exceptional experience. Sorry.
No, you're good. Focus on the solution. Someone didn't say that already, right?
That one got replaced.
Got removed.
Oh, no.
Continuous innovation.
Oh, there we go.
And growth and learning.
Growth and learning.
Of course, I cheated.
I was
No,
trying
but
to. I couldn't get to it fast enough.
yeah. But to that point, I think
yeah.
it's important to note on this that to show just how important our core values, and Kenny, you know this, that every
Yeah.
time we bring on a new employee, we have a meeting with our whole executive team and those new employees. And we've had meetings with just one or two new employees. We've had meetings with 10 new employees at the same time. But we sit down for an hour and we spend time and we talk about every one of those core values,
Yeah.
because we feel that it's so important to the culture. And Paul, what do you always say about our core values?
We hire and fire by our core values. Well, we live by our core values. We hire and fire by our core values, and we use the core values to answer all the questions.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting as we've sat in executive team meetings, where there'll be topics that come up that are very difficult to answer, where we are struggling because there's a huge financial impact, or a huge risk to the company. And as we sit there, not sure, do we do A or do we do B? Inevitably, someone always says, "Yeah, but this is our core value." And as soon as that comes up, we know the direction we're supposed to go. And sometimes it's been a negative financial impact significantly to our company, but we know that that's our core value and that's what drives it. Are those core values? So really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And so then the one we're here to talk about, attitude of gratitude, we're really going to dive into. And so, Sean, I'd like to start this with you. Where did the attitude of gratitude core value come from?
So it was not the originally there was 6 core values. It was the 7th one was attitude of gratitude, and it really came about because so I'm over the development team, and so I have developers and product owners that are on my team, and we had hired a new developer named Alex, and he had come in, and he was always thanking everybody. He was just thanking them for any little thing, quite frankly. And it was that people were thanking him back. And I noticed over the course of a month, of that first month, just this change in my department on how things went from kind of not necessarily negative, but from this kind of attitude of, well, this is my job, to suddenly people were happy to serve. Because they knew that there was this gratitude going around, and it completely changed our department. And that's when I said, okay, there's something here. We've got to capitalize on that. And that's really where it stemmed from, was this employee that really changed that department.
Yeah. Alex is a great guy. Always enjoy getting a chance to work with him and talk with him. Paul, what you are over all of HawkSoft. You're at the top of the pyramid. Although someone would probably more categorize it as you're the base of the pillar. Yeah. And so you have a perspective over the full range of our company. We're remote now. You still make a presence at a lot of meetings. When we were in office, you would routinely join meetings, walk the building, talk to everybody. From your vantage point, what impact does an attitude of gratitude have on you as a business leader and a community member of our company?
Well, the biggest impact on me, and this happened to me well before HawkSoft. I grew up a very angry young man. I was a very negative person. I didn't like people, and something happened to me on a trip. We got snowed in on a trip, and all of a sudden I realized that how thankful I was for the people around me that made a difference for me and my family in that trip. And I realized how that changed me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always say, one of the things that I say is it's not happy people that are thankful, it's thankful people that are happy, because of what happened to me. And I look at that and I want my people, I'm here to serve my HawkSoft family. That's my main focus. And like any father, I guess you could say, any father figure, I want all my family to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I see those kinds of things happening, we had one young lady that had just started with HawkSoft maybe a month before this happened. In fact, it was just before a Thanksgiving holiday several years ago. And we have what we call the virtual break room where we can get in and chit chat with people and things. And she said, "Wow, I just realized that this is a 4-day weekend. I don't know if I like that because I'm going to be away from so many of the people that support me and lift me and make me feel good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just so thankful for those people, and that for me was the greatest success that I could have."
We made it 13 minutes, audience. I knew this was, and I mean this sincerely, we are an emotional bunch. It's dangerous to have the four of us in a room together. But this, I want listeners to know, sincere.
You know, Kenny, I just, as I think about this, something Paul said was that it's not that happy people are grateful, but that grateful people are happy. And it's interesting, they've done a lot of studies recently in universities around this concept. And that's what they have found. They found it's absolutely true. And something that I tell my people is that if you're having a bad day, go find someone to thank. Interestingly enough, it actually releases dopamine in your brain. It actually gives you a dopamine hit when you thank somebody. But what it does for the other person as well, I mean, it lifts both people when you thank them, and especially when you have an employee who is where maybe you're at odds with them. And it doesn't have to be an employee; it could be a sibling, it could be a neighbor, it could be anybody. But someone that you're at odds with, if you can find something to thank them for, it's the beginning of the change of that relationship. An example of that is I had a friend that I now call friend that I play basketball with, and about 3 weeks into the first time I met him, about 3 weeks in, we kind of got on it in the court, and it got a little heated, and I got a little offended because of some things that happened on the court. And the next week, the first thing I did, I went up and apologized to him and just thanked him for being there, and it completely changed that relationship, and now we're friends, and good friends. We check on each other to see how we're doing, and it's just I think so many times we get so caught up in being right or being that that we miss that the impact that we can have.
Now, Sean, I want to ask you a question. Did it change you, or did it first change? I mean, did it change him, or did it first change you?
It first changed me.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And the other thing that it does for the other person is the other person feels valued. You know, that is one of the things that causes happiness, allows us to be happy when we feel that we are of value to someone else. And again, it's the brain chemistry.
Yeah. I completely agree with this. I was having a rather stressful week, and we're only halfway through. But I sent a thank you email to someone this morning, and it immediately made me feel better. They did something that made me feel valued, and it turned my whole day around. So I sent them an email saying, "Thanks for doing that."
Some people know this. My wife had extreme anxiety for about a 5-year period, to the point where she could not even go into a grocery store because of the anxiety level, and she would just literally call me in tears. And she had worked with a lot of different therapists, doctors, trying to figure it all out. In this process, she developed this thing that she calls GPS, and it stands for you give gratitude, you pause, and then you serve somebody. And it helps her get out of when she feels anxious. That's what she does. She finds something to be grateful for. She then pauses and just takes some space, and then she goes serve somebody, and it's completely helped her through that anxiety, which I think is really to me, there's something there. I'm not a doctor, but I think there's
I love that. I think that it's a Rotary motto, service over self, but I think it's something that we do a lot at HawkSoft, where we look for how do we help out. We were all just I don't want to date the episode. We were all just in the home office for an event, and there wasn't enough work to go around for all the HawkSoft people. So there's just a bunch of HawkSoft people walking around being like, "Can I do something to help?" And be like, "Well, we're taking care of this." And then go to the next person, "Can I do something to help?" And it's like, "Well, we already got this taken care of." Cleanup was fast, which was nice, but it was one of those things where when we're all together in a room, we do all look for the service. And I agree. I look for, if I would share that strategy a little bit. Whereas if I'm going to start cleaning, or I'm going to start doing a chore for someone else, if I am feeling down about myself, I love that. That's really cool. And I hope the audience takes that and uses that too. GPS, that's great. Jason, I want to turn and ask you a question. How do you see the attitude of gratitude come through in the day-to-day of HawkSoft?
That's, giving credit where credit is due is one of the things that's been popping in my head as we've been talking about this. I mean, often one person will come up with the idea, but lots of people run with it different ways. But I see it over and over again where people say, well, this actually came from this person. And we always try to attribute back to kind of whoever started something to make sure that everybody's getting that good feeling from the work we're doing. Sean passed over something to me that I'm wondering if we might have skipped over in the beginning of this, is maybe we should read through the core value itself. So if we can get text as part of this presentation. So do you want me to run through that real quick?
I would love for you to do that, please.
Okay. So the way we have it worded is attitude of gratitude. We make a habit of expressing our gratefulness to customers, employees, partners, and colleagues in all our relationships. Viewing our lives through the lens of gratitude allows us to be humble and recognize the tangible and sometimes invisible contributions of the countless people who have positioned us on the path for personal and professional success. The work we engage today and the accomplishments we are able to achieve are built upon the foundations that these people have laid for us. We view people and opportunities with an attitude of gratitude. And that is how we have summed it up as part of our core values when we go through the core values meeting, as every employee starts with HawkSoft. One thing I think we missed on that was that meeting isn't just, we have that presented to all new employees. No, we sit down, the three of us and our whole executive team, about 11 of us, sit down with all new hires and we walk through all these, read every one of them, and then walk through examples of how they've been applied. So they hear it straight from us. We don't try to filter this. We don't give them a video. It's us making sure they understand how important these are in this company.
Yeah. I've been with HawkSoft 9 years. I went through the core value meeting, which was a shocking thing as a new hire to be like, oh, I am valued enough to be in the same room as the C-suite and the executive team, and they are dedicating an hour plus to educating me on what matters to the company. And as you said, every employee at HawkSoft goes through that, which I think is huge in cementing them as our core values are not lip service. They're not, they both are and are not words on a wall. I say that because they're on the wall in HawkSoft in several places, but that is not their only extent to how they interact with us day to day. They are lived values.
Kenny, where I see this, you asked where we see this in everyday life at HawkSoft. One thing that I see recently, we had we call a hug event. It's a HawkSoft user group event at the Canby location. And we've had several across the country, and we've got some more coming up. But one thing that we always try doing is truly thanking our customers for taking time out of their day, out of their busy week, to come to this event. And the event is there to help for them to learn. We're providing a service where we are teaching how to use HawkSoft better, and so it's some people can view it as, well, they're paying to come and and to get trained. And yes, that's true. But we wouldn't be in business without them. And quite frankly, they wouldn't be as efficient without us. And consequently, there's this symbiotic relationship there. And we have to be grateful for that. We have vendors that are there, and again, expressing that gratitude to just those vendors coming and working with us to help our customers to become more efficient. And I think we in this professional world, we've become almost callous, saying, with an expectation that, well, yeah, of course they're supposed to be there. They're paid to be there. But they don't have to be there. And I think we, as we see them and as we express that gratitude for them taking that time out of their schedule for coming and participating with us, it changes the relationship. It's no longer just a customer of ours. Now they're a friend. They're no longer just a vendor or a colleague. Now they're a friend. And I think that's what the whole attitude of gratitude is about. It's about relationship. It's about building that relationship.
And if you look at every one of our core values, it's all about relationships. Because in this industry, relationships is the most important thing.
I think you're right. It is this foundation for all of us to say we prioritize and care about a set of values that are qualitative, not a set of metrics or KPIs that are quantitative. There's no core value at HawkSoft about a KPI. We have metrics that we track. We have KPIs that we aim for like time-limited goals. But as a foundation, we're aiming to have an attitude of gratitude. We're not aiming to have a average handle time under 10 minutes or something like that.
Or a financial one.
Yeah.
Because if we pay attention to the core values and really use them and to answer all the questions, the financial part takes care of itself.
Yeah.
And that's something that I know this isn't necessarily a core value. It's focused on attitude of gratitude. But with that, we have an executive meeting every week, and there are very few times where we focus on just metrics. Most of our conversations are on people, on teams, but ultimately comes down to people, and how we can help, whatever way we can from an executive level. And I think that's where it's just important.
Yeah.
It's important.
Sean, you had mentioned a few moments ago that, in our business world, we can kind of become callous and a little bit removed in our interactions if we're not consciously resisting that impulse. And so I want to turn a question to Paul. I think that we were all raised to say thank you. And as a statement that you start saying it a lot, and then it's like, are we being sincere? How do you ensure that people know you are genuine and mean it when you tell them thank you?
Sometimes I worry about that. I do. I think I say it, or we as a company say it to each other so often, but we have to be careful that it's sincere and that we're saying thank you for a specific thing. In other words, if it's just thank you and nothing ever actually happened, then it's not sincere. But when we're thanking them for something specific, there's a song called "Count Your Blessings," and as we sincerely count the blessing that person is or what they've done for us, you can't help but be thankful and at the same time we're giving them value, and that's really the basis for it. So the other thing, I'm gonna add something to this, because I have a pet peeve about saying thank you.
Yeah.
I was going to go there.
Well, actually, it's not saying thank you, it's what comes back. I don't ever like to hear somebody saying, no problem, because they just threw your thank you back in your face. And you're welcome or thank you.
Mm-hmm. That was definitely I come from a generation of people that no problem is like our default response. And Paul, you've caught me on it. And it's one of those things where it is a perspective shift where, Sean, to go back to your wife's GPS, it's the pause. When you say you're welcome, you're taking the pause in the moment to say, oh, I receive this gratitude and I am receptive to it. You are welcome to this work that I did for you. And so it gives you, not to get too like metaphysical linguistic about this, but I work in marketing and I think that words have power. And with that, I think that saying thank you and saying you're welcome and like genuinely connecting with people, it's a little somewhat difficult. We're all in different locations. You three are much closer to each other than I am geographically right now. We're all just kind of in the ether. It's hard for us to make eye contact. I definitely know when I am talking with you all in person and you say thank you, that it's sincere. Because I think it's that kind of trained reflection and sincerity. And so I think when people, if they're listening to this and they're trying to like, okay, how do I embrace an attitude of gratitude? I think they have to start internally somewhat and say like, what am I really grateful for? And how can I voice that authentically? Because sometimes it feels weird to say like, you know, a direct report or something. It's like, hey, thank you for doing that task that I assigned you. Like, yeah, that's your job, but also you could go work anywhere else. You could go do anything else. You could make a decision not to do it. I am grateful that you made the decision to go follow through it and do that work. Or I am appreciative of the time you've committed to us outside of your family, that type of thing. So I think it is like this internal meditation you have to do and put some real honesty behind your words.
You know, it reminds me, my wife is my inspiration in so many ways. Another thing that she has,
Mine too.
and not to get too, but one thing she has kept for years is a gratitude journal. And for a long time, she would write one thing she was grateful for a day in that journal until she filled the whole journal up. And what it has done for her is that when she is in those low moments, which we all go through low moments, to be able to open that back up and see all of these things that she's been grateful for over the years.
Yeah.
And I think you can't help but feel good when you start reflecting on all these things that you've been grateful for.
Yeah.
Even in and especially in your lowest moments.
I know a technique that people often recommend for quieting anxiety, but also like helping you sleep, is walking through your day and doing like thinking about what gratitudes you have about it. It's a strategy periodically I'll deploy for myself where I'll say like, okay, I had this meeting. I'm really grateful that Keenan was there to support me, or I'm very grateful that JP followed up on this email with someone. I'm grateful that Jason spent time talking to me about his hobbies, that type of thing, where you can kind of, it just helps calm things down because it's that dopamine. There's a great, I believe, a piece on this in Leaders Eat Last, Simon Sinek's book about the brain chemicals that we all need. So I think that's some great. I'm loving the practical advice we're getting over here. We're gonna have to give Miley some credit on this episode.
Yeah, well, and that made me think. I don't want the listeners to think that we're experts in this area. I mean, obviously, I'm a software developer by trade. I'm not a psychologist, but it's things that I have personally experienced and seen work and changed my life, changed the life of people around me, and it's that life experience that is what I've got is my life experience. And I've seen it over and over as those that are grateful are happier people. And it can change a team, it can change a company, it can change an individual, it changes all of that. And I've seen it over and over again.
You've put yourself in the hot seat for me. if you don't mind. A lot of our listeners are agency owners. They're business owners. So, Sean, could you give us an example of how HawkSoft has used or put attitude of gratitude into practice when making a business decision?
Wow. Yeah, I can give you an example of that. There are years where, from a very financial standpoint, there have been years that HawkSoft's not been as financially sound as as we would want it to be. I mean, where money's a little tight some years, and yet we feel we have formulas that we've used to determine whether we give a bonus to our employees. I will tell you, every year we've been in that situation where it says, well, the formula says that there is not going to be a bonus, or it's going to be really small this year. We can't. We have to give a bonus, because just the feeling of gratitude that we feel for our employees and for what who they are and everything they've given, and so we find ways to make sure that we can give that bonus, to give a bonus, and it's just because it's important. It's important that they feel our gratitude for their work.
As an employee that has often benefited from that, especially during the holiday season, I am grateful for it. I want to open this question up to all of you, because you all have 3 rather important jobs, and you've been doing them for 29 years. It can be hard to center yourself in gratitude. When is it the hardest to remember to be grateful? While you're thinking about that, I find it the hardest to be grateful when I am stressed and feel under the gun, or maybe when I don't feel valued in the work that I'm doing, kind of in the sense of I serve a lot of our partners. They have their own pressure on themselves. And then sometimes it can feel like we're the roadblock to that success that they're aiming for. And so it gets really difficult to remember that the work that I'm able to accomplish with those partners really benefits agencies, and be grateful for that. So that's something that comes to my mind as I think about this question. It's those moments of stress.
I would agree. I think when you feel a lot of stress, when you just feel like you can't possibly get everything done that needs to get done, those are the moments it's hard. And yet those are the moments that, if you do take that time to pause and give that gratitude, it can make the biggest impact in those moments. When life is good, that's a time where it doesn't have as big of impact on you. It's when life is hard, when it is stressful, when you don't have time, and especially I think of those times where I've been really, really stressed and have had people come up and did something nice for me, or they said, "Hey, thank you so much," and suddenly it just lifts my spirits. But like manner, the opposite's also true. Is that if we do it for someone else, it also lifts our spirits. And so it's, but it's hard to remember. It's in the heat of the moment, the stress of the moment, it's hard to remember.
Do you, as individuals who have worked together for so long, do you find it easier or more difficult to express gratitude to each other? Because
I find it easier. I look back at our history, and one of the things that I'm so grateful for is, and has to do with all 3 of us, we are not the same men we were 29 years ago in any shape of the imagination. And how we've had to grow and change. Most companies, entrepreneurial companies, don't last more than 5 years before they either sell out or whatever. The entrepreneurs aren't there anymore because they can't make those changes. And I think about it often, how the changes that each of us has made, and to my 2 sons right here, I am so grateful to them for what for the relationships that we've built over the years and the things that we've been able to do. Because I always tell people, because of the core values, they can go to any one of us and I know they're going to get the same answer. It gives me a peace of mind with what we've built, and even our executive team. We've got 12 people on the executive team, 11, and they can. I don't care which one you go to, as long as they're thinking about the core values, they're going to get the same answer. And I'm thankful for. I look at them also and what they were 10 years ago. Some of them only 5 years ago because they're fairly new, but it's like, wow.
Yeah. Jason, it kind of looked like you had a thought while Paul was talking. Is there anything you wanted to add?
You were talking between the three of us, and there's just an inherent trust there, and we all know we're going to back each other no matter what we're going to do. So when you're saying hardest to show gratitude to each other, I think we show it. I mean, we may joke around about certain things, but we all know where we all are.
Yeah. So then, in the spirit of an attitude of gratitude in the upcoming Thanksgiving holiday, is there anything else you'd like to say to our audience as we close out this episode?
Our audience, of course, is mostly independent insurance agencies. I am grateful to serve them in what they do, how they serve in their communities, how they serve in this industry. I mean, I came up from that. I was an insurance agent to start with, and I know what they do and some of the hard times, especially right now in the hard market, what they're going through. And I am so thankful for them and what they bring to us as we visit with them at these regional hugs that we've been going through lately. And I always tell them I'm there my main focus there is to listen to them and to find out their pain points and what they do and what they bring to our industry and to HawkSoft as being part of our family. Thankful every day for those wonderful, wonderful people that the good Lord has surrounded me with.
I just had two thoughts on this, supporting thought. First off, Kenny, we want you to know how appreciative we are of you on everything that you do. As you work with our partners, with the vendors, with just you encapsulate the core values, and it shows. And we are grateful to have you as to be part of you, that we're together on this. So just thank you for who you are.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
It makes me think that sometimes we, especially as we approach the Thanksgiving season, this is to recognize that whether you're a HawkSoft employee or you're a customer of ours, I tell my employees this all the time. HawkSoft is not the most important thing in your life. If it is, you got to change some things. Your family, your life outside of HawkSoft is far more important. And those people that you surround yourself with outside of work is extremely important. They need to know that they're valued. They need to know that you care about them. They need to know that you're grateful for them. And so that's my message is just this holiday season, go and find someone maybe you've not talked to in a while, that you can just reach out and say, hey, just want you to know I care about you. Thank you for who you are. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for being part of my life.
I am extremely grateful for the three of you joining us. I hope our audience listened to this, internalizes the lessons we learned. I learned some new things in this conversation that I'm definitely going to take away from this. I hope that everyone has a safe and gratitude-filled Thanksgiving holiday and the extended holiday season. I really appreciate Sean, Jason, Paul, you being here with us. Thank you for watching today's episode. Click the video description below to learn more about our guests and to view the latest podcast episode as well as other content from HawkSoft. We appreciate you watching and hope you join us next time on the Insurance Perspectives Podcast. Thank you.